Hi there, welcome once again to the Dukascopy TV studio. I'm Ben Jones. Alongside me today to discuss the ways in which you can differentiate between distribution and marketing is Glen Millar. Glen, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, good to be here, thank you.
Can you begin by explaining who this issue concerns between distribution and marketing?
Okay, well, we're talking about this in the context of distributing financial products in Switzerland, first of all. And really, there's no big difference between marketing and distribution. The terms are synonymous with one another. And what does it mean? It means basically any proposal or marketing or offer for an investor to invest in a collective investment scheme in Switzerland. So it will cover presentations, documents, emails, the use of websites. The scope is fairly large, but it's what you or I would understand by marketing pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Can you outline some of the new requirements of the Collective Investment Schemes Act?
Sure. I mean, last year there was a partial revision of the law, came into force on March, and there are bits and pieces that have dropped into the law since that point. But the big deadline, if you like, is the end of February 2015, by which time, if you wish to distribute in Switzerland, you need to appoint a representative and paying agent, and if you're actually doing it from Switzerland, you need to register with the FINMA. I mean, in a nutshell, those are the key changes.
Okay. So we have distribution, we have marketing. Can you define both of them for us?
Okay, there are legal texts that will probably do it better than I, but it's what the man in the street, I would actually say, would commonly think of as a marketing activity. So a proposal, an offer, an email, cold calling, promotion, like an event to make publicity around the product that you have. It's pretty far-reaching, certainly under the way that the Swiss have defined it, and I'm talking here from a Swiss perspective. But if you have a specific case, it's always best to get a legal advice or come to us and we'll tell you. But it's pretty much what you would normally expect from people that were making a marketing offer of some sort. Okay. And it's pretty pervasive. It's quite wide-reaching. One exception, though, which is quite important, is reverse solicitation. Many of your viewers out there will be familiar with this. And this is where the investor comes to you, and that doesn't count as distribution. And whilst we're on the subject of exclusions, distribution, quote unquote, to banks, securities dealers, fund management companies, fund managers, and authorised insurance institutions, confusingly, also doesn't count as distribution, because those are professional, regulated firms that you're distributing to. And in the wisdom, the Collective Investment Schemes Act has defined that not as distribution. It's excluded from the scope. So there is still some margin for continuing a marketing activity in Switzerland, but you have to be very careful and respect who you're distributing to, and be sure, if it is reverse solicitation, that the investors come to you and it's not the result of a recommendation or another activity that you've taken yourself.
Okay, so what groups are exempt in terms of qualified and non-qualified investors? Okay,
there are probably three main groups. First of all, retail investors are always in scope. There's the protection for retail investors is and always has been quite high in Switzerland. The second group, which are the exceptions, these are regulated qualified investors, let's call them, to whom distribution doesn't count as distribution. The third group are other qualified investors, and these are probably more typically problematic for the firm in the United States or in Hong Kong or whatever, coming to Switzerland and wanting to target investors. It'll be looking at family offices, it will be looking at high net worth individuals, it may be looking at Swiss pension, but maybe not Swiss pension, but why not? And in these cases, the requirement to appoint a representative and paying agent has come into force. And there are many firms that provide this sort of service. Our firm doesn't provide a representative service, but these are reputable firms regulated by FINMA who represent the fund towards the FINMA and carry out the legal, if you like, due diligence duties on all the fund documentation and compliance requirements.
Okay, now with distributors in Switzerland, how are they affected?
Well, up until now, under the previous regime, if they weren't distributing to the grand public, the public, they didn't need to be, on the whole, registered. And what it's meant is that there are a lot of both firms that were distributing and asset managers who are managing maybe a portfolio of under 100 million Swiss francs, who don't need to register as an asset manager with FINMA, as they're beneath the de minimis threshold. But both these groups, so people who are distributing and asset managers who partly distribute, are now having to appoint a representative and paying agent by 28th of February 2015 and put into place the other requirements. There were a couple of directives published by the Swiss Fund and Asset Management Association just in May there that prescribe more fully what they need to cover. Too much to go into in detail now, but suffice it to say that it's fairly clear what needs to be done, and they've got about 6 months to put it to bed.
Okay, and finally, say if you're based outside of Switzerland but you want to market in Switzerland, what's the process?
Thing to watch out for there, if you wish to market into Switzerland from abroad, is you need to be regulated by an equivalent regulator in your place of domicile or where your headquarters are. And again, you need to appoint the rep and paying agent. Now, there are a list of places in the ether that count as equivalent. I can say US, UK, Hong Kong, Singapore are equivalent. But FINMA don't publish that list, and it's a moving feast, if you like. But if you're regulated for and permissioned to do marketing in any of those jurisdictions that I've just mentioned, and you wish to distribute in Switzerland, you should be able to just appoint the rep and paying agent and market ad infinitum from the end of February next year.
Glen, once again, thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Do make sure you keep clicking back to Dukascopy TV as we bring you plenty more updates and exclusive interviews. Bye for now.